know, yeah. I'm actually a, I'm, I'm not a narcotics user. I'm addicted to narcotics because of the use of technology. If I were to ever actually use narcotics, I would be immediately addicted to the effect. It's the use of technology that caused the sowing of the addiction. Yes. And a lot of the people that I've known in anonymity meetings, yeah, the government caused their addiction because of sowing technology. Every time they wanted to stop using, you sowed into them, officer. Yes. And you really kind of plagued their thoughts about, I need you to get high. Yes. So that I can be on you, so that I get the effects of the high. Yes. And you get the drugs in your blood. Pooch. Then when I arrest you, yes, you have the drugs in your saliva. Ooch. You have this. It's called the drug user sowing. Yes. And I'm absolutely sure about the technology. Yep. And those that do know, officer. See, there was this thought that if I have the sheriff on me, yes, and the sheriff does know because the sheriff does see, yes, the sheriff's the drug user because of the effects of the drugs being used by the sheriff. So get me the nose right now. This idea that we're just going to pull people over because we know that we've been drinking on them, yes. And since we do know we were drinking through them, right, we do know they're intoxicated at the time of the pulling over of the individual. Now, the whole spy technology of sewing, yes, a lot of people have gotten DUIs because the cop had to be on them what? Well, it really isn't fair as much as you want to make up this bullshit about protecting society. Yes, for you to use your sewing technology on an individual that is drinking, and then you're the bee on them that happens to pull them over for being a drunk. Yes, knowing that they were drinking because you were the bee on them when they were drinking. Sheriff, get me your nose. Can you smell through the nostrils the effect of alcohol? You cause DUIs. You cause drug arrests because of the sowing of the electricity, yeah, in the butt cheeks of those that get convicted for drug use. Now, Mr. Green Jeans, I'm going to want this sowing out of the minds of those that were drug users or alcoholics, and they no longer want you reminding them of what they used to do. Yes, because they no longer want to do what they were doing. Yes, and they don't want you sewing into the tattoo there, Mr. Green Jeans. They don't want you reminding. Do you remember when you used to? Pooh. Do you remember? Do you remember how much you used to smoke? Pooh. Now, I just had a minute and a half yesterday. Yes, there's some really nice boats in here. But I often wondered how many people have 165,000 euro to be able to rent for 1 week one of these nice yachts. See, you would think that if you have enough money, yes, to own one of them, you'd probably purchase one of them. But a lot of people don't like the having to take care of them. So could you get me all the leasing companies where you could vacation on a yacht? Yes, because you can pay 150, $200,000 a week. I just want to know the really wealthy individuals, the person that say they don't have any liability. I mean, there's some criminal liability for having any sewing technology. Now, for all those big billionaires that said, no, I'd rather own my own boat than lease it, there is the available charterfleet.com essential online guide to luxury yacht charters. Yes. This is Showboats International. And I just want to know the actual identity of all of those that lease. Now, this looks really good to me. Yes, look at this right here. A big bed, looking out. Yes, it's probably up here someplace. Yes, naked in bed, with a beautiful naked woman. Yes, it is. So nervous. The thought was that I might get myself one of these. Now, these super yachts, yes. What if I owned the brokerage that sold them? See, I was a broker, yes, with helping build wealth. I put the information of them on my actual drive yesterday. And I remember when Shannon Miller filed for the arbitration in FINRA. Yes, yes, yes. The problem was she filed for an arbitration in New York, one day before the 6 years had expired. Yes. Where I no longer could have been named as the individual that had caused her any sort of pain or suffering. Yes. But New York had moved it to Los Angeles, and she was given an additional 5 months where she emailed, yes, one of the top employees in FINRA, yes, about how she had to go to Mexico for 5 months. And then when she got back, she finally realized that she hadn't done what the law requires. Now, you can appreciate, yes, as the individual that had to participate in that arbitration. I had tried to get going my brokerage, stockbroker career again in 2009. Yeah. And I had signed up with Helping Build Wealth. Yes. And the day after the 2 years when I had resigned from Horowitz and Associates, yes, I got served an arbitration notice. Yes. That happened to be one day before the 6 year expiration of my what's it, statute of limitations to say that somebody caused damages. Yeah. It's amazing how one day makes a difference. One day after, yes, I no longer could involve Horowitz in the arbitration. I got served. Couldn't say anything to him because they only had any involvement 2 years after my employment there. Yes. But it happened to be that she filed in New York. Yes. One day before the end of the 6 years that I could have been named in an arbitration as a broker. It's amazing how one day. Now, maybe Stoll Burns remembers that when she filed for her arbitration in New York, it got moved to Los Angeles. Yes. And what happened was Shannon Miller went to Mexico because I remember calling, yes, Keith Ketterling, and I said, you know what? I located the approximate location, the residence where she's at in Mexico. Yes. Why don't I call down there and find out what she's doing? And the attorney representing me during the arbitration said, no, Paul, I think it's best we don't call her. You don't need to bother her. Well, what happened was she emailed numerous employees of FINRA during the arbitration, got them to agree that even though it was one day before I could have been named in an arbitration, they were going to go ahead with the arbitration. Now, when you think of the number of rules of arbitration that were violated during that, I'm going to sue you, FINRA. Ooch. I'm going to sue you, Securities Exchange Commission. Yes. I'm going to sue HBW. Ooch. Jenny Wells. Ooch. Ooch. Horowitz and Associates. Ooch. And see, I just wanted to know the actual brokerages of every broker in the United States. See, what I thought was, let's say I had this huge $150 billion lawsuit. And my attorney realizes that, yep, she did file one day before the end of the 6 year period where you could be named as being the broker that caused her losses. But somehow FINRA had agreed to continue with the arbitration, even though she didn't respond with all the documentation until 5 years or 5 months after it was required. Now I look at the emails that she sent to FINRA. Yes. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it violated the rules of arbitration. Now, Keith Ketterling, yes, and Stoll Burn, yes, and Kyle Mueller, yes. We all agreed that we were going to go to arbitration because that's what FINRA wanted. But as I really think about it, there was this big squeeze on me after it had been filing for arbitration. Yeah, it was in 2007. Yes. And Louise Cohen said, well, Paul, we really got to clean up your personal life. Seemed like somebody kept squeezing me and squeezing and squeezing. Now, why don't you get me all the employees of all the brokerages in the United States? Yes, because there's what's known as putting out the shingle. Phew, phew. And I'm thinking that I'm wanting ownership of what could be hundreds of thousands of brokers that would like to work for me instead of you. Oh, all. Now, for all of you that have any interest in any stock brokerage of the United States of America, yes, it could be that there is this knowledge that when you violate the rules of arbitration, that it affects all of us, brokers and brokerages alike. And when I look at buying, because that's what I'm looking at, I want to know every brokerage of every boat that you can have the ownership of. Or I would say, well, why don't I make you a little offer for your brokerage with the intention of getting a boat for myself? Now, it upsets me that somebody thought that they could violate the rules of arbitration. They could give all this preferential treatment to this individual, yes, that didn't do what the rules of arbitration are obligated to have done. And then my attorneys decided, well, it looks like we're going to have to pay her approximately $25,000, but let's see here. Education. Parents have a right to direct their children's education, care, and upbringing. Yes. Now, I did put some pictures on my drive. Yeah. Just get me every brokerage, stock brokerage, yacht brokerage, yes, and real estate brokerage. Pooch. I just wanted to know, let's say I gotten involved in the real estate business. I decided that it'd be easier for me to buy a large number of pre-existing brokerages. Yes. You'll call real estate companies. Yeah. And I go through and I decide to just screw every brokerage in the United States. Now, for all of you, yes, that do know that you can't be in the family, true. You can't arbitrarily decide that you're going to pad the pockets of politicians. You just can't do it. Anytime I'm looking for a deal, I like to really investigate those that have the possibility of purchasing your businesses for a very small amount of money. Now, the shingle theory, the notion that a broker dealer must be held to a high standard of conduct, yes, because by engaging in the security business, hanging out a shingle. Now, I think that I have, get me the brokerages.